Hello, my name is Jacob Toddson, and welcome back to the Wisdom of Odin. Today I'm in Scotland to discuss with you the ancient celebration of Beltane. And I'm doing this from a Fellowship in Northern Traditions gathering here in Scotland, and I have a lot more to discuss with you in this video because we're going to be talking about the history of Beltane in the past, the mythological history, how it survives today, and then I'll be taking you with me to the largest celebration of Beltane in the world in Edinburgh, where up to 50,000 people can go atop Colton Hill and celebrate the ancient fire festival of the Irish and the Celtic world. So I definitely want to start with what we know of the historic past. And with everything when it comes to Celtic paganism, Celtic beliefs, and Celtic celebrations, it gets very muddy. So I'm doing my best to discuss this with you. Even the name of Beltane is not something that is consistent across the board. And this is something that I think is very intimidating for especially American people getting into Celtic paganism, is all the different source materials there are, and also all the variety of information there is, and different changes to even pronunciations of words. Because words like Beltane aren't pronounced like Beltane to every people group in the British Isles. For instance, Beltane is pronounced Bealtaine in Ireland, from what I've been told, and then it's pronounced differently in Cornwall, it's pronounced differently in the South, in the North, in the Gaelic, and the Scots. And so it's not consistent across the board. Therefore, if there's no agreement on the actual pronunciation of the name, the traditions around it are also going to vary by people group, culture, and time. So just understand that for the course of this video, I will be saying Beltane. It's just what I'm used to. I mean no disrespect to the other pronunciations. I acknowledge the other pronunciations and the other traditions. And this is a very hard subject, but I definitely want to make this video for people who want to learn a little bit more. So as far as the ancient history, we really don't know the official start date of the Beltane celebrations. The mythological connection that scholars have made to Beltane and to an ancient god is Belenus, the god of fire and light that was mostly talked about in Central Europe by the Gauls, but is a Celtic god that is also supposedly the husband of Danu, the mother of all of the Celtic gods, or the Danube River, as I have learned recently, which is really fascinating. So Belenus may be the namesake of Beltane, but we really don't know that much about Belenus himself. Now, what most people probably know is that Beltane is a celebration consisting of two bonfires that cattle is led through, and they're danced around and then led into the pastures for the summer. This is the historical agricultural connection that has been going on for an untold amount of time. This is also what has survived for really up until the 1900s, and then it kind of died down as the Industrial Revolution kicked off and more people left the countryside for the cities, especially after World War II and the Reconstruction that happened after that. Beltane kind of dipped down in popularity. And then with the rise of modern neo-paganism, with Wicca practices in particular, Beltane became much more popular in the last 20 or 30 years. And the celebration for the most part has stayed largely the same. Typically it is a fire ritual that people dance around, leave offerings into, and then use the smoke to cleanse themselves. Now I would argue that it's definitely changed from an agricultural celebration where people led their cattle through, and I've even been told that the smoke that was blessing the cattle was also just a literal smoke that was getting the bugs off of them from the winter barns. And so there was a practical celebration to Beltane in the ancient past, and I would definitely argue that it is more spiritual now, and there's much more of an emphasis on the religious aspects of Beltane. Now, there are aspects that a lot of people may be aware of that have been added in the last few years that we really don't know if they were connected to the ancient past, such as the addition of the Lord and Lady, or the God and the Goddess, that were added in with the Wiccan practitioners that added in this idea of the duality of the God and the Goddess. As far as I can tell, there is no historical reference in the ancient past to this being a celebration of a god and a goddess. That's not saying that this is a bad thing, it's just saying this is a modern evolution and a modern addition to this practice today. Within the Edinburgh Fire Society and the Fire Festival there is the Green Man and the May Queen, which are also modern additions to the celebration today. Now with that, I'm here celebrating Beltane, the spring season going into summer, with the Fellowship in Northern Traditions, the nonprofit based around this channel that is now all around the world celebrating the old ways together. And so actually today we're going to be performing a Green Man and a Beltane ritual. We're going to be in the trees singing and celebrating this time of year, and then we're also going to be lighting two fires and blessing and cleansing ourselves. And so by saying things are modern additions are not taking away from the spiritual significance of them, because I truly believe that paganism needs to continue to evolve. Now, there also seems to be a slight inconsistency on when Beltane is celebrated. Some people look like they celebrate it on the new moon after the equinox, I believe. I'll correct myself here if I was wrong. And then the majority of people seem to adhere to the well-known date of May 1st, the night of April 30th going into May 1st, being the celebratory date of Beltane today. This also lines up with a lot of other May Day celebrations, including Walpurgisnacht in the Germanic countries. And so this theme of bonfires during this time of year seems to be a recurring thing. And this is my ultimate argument of why I'm here. I am ultimately a Norse pagan. While I can still acknowledge and honor these Celtic deities as I'm learning more about them, I still see the world in the Norse cosmology. I still believe in Yggdrasil, the 9 realms. My primary deity is still Odin. But I also believe in wandering and exploring more and learning more when it comes to these ancient traditions. And so when we wanted to have a celebration here in Scotland, celebrating this time of year around the time of Beltane, I definitely wanted to participate in reconstruction of a Beltane celebration. I'm even going to be invoking the Norse deities. Some people may not agree with me on doing that. However, I think it's a very important thing to do. We're going to be honoring the Celtic gods and the Norse gods here at the same time at a bonfire ritual. If you've been following my channel for a while, this ritual kind of fits into my theme. While there's a lot of complexity to the historical past of all of these ancient pagan traditions, really what it's about is honoring the seasonal changes, honoring the deities of nature, connecting to the gods that are all around us, connecting to the beautiful land that we live on and share with. And so when it comes to being in Scotland, this is such a unique area because you have the Norse influence, the Anglo-Saxon influence, the Celtic influence, the Pictish influence. There's so much here, so much ancestry and heritage. And so it is very complicated. And so a ritual that kind of honors that complicatedness of history while still acknowledging that we're here to celebrate nature, I think is what is most important. One last thing I would like to mention is another tradition that seems to be occurring around this time of year, which is going to holy wells and springs and cleansing yourself. Again, we see the cleansing of livestock, but also the cleansing of yourself. And I saw this while in Edinburgh as well, as there's a tradition still to this day that on May 1st, you climb up Arthur's Seat, the highest point in Edinburgh, and you wash your face and the morning dew from there. And it's seen as a cleansing and healing ritual. And this goes all the way back to the pagan past and then survives within Catholic mythology that still persists today. And so there's people that climb this hill as Catholics, there's people that climb this hill as pagans, and people that just do it for tradition's sake, but they're all washing their face in the morning dew. And I think that is ultimately what is significant about this experience, is the climb itself and the cleanse. In ancient times, the celebration of Beltane was held at Arthur's Seat behind me here, which is the tallest hill in modern-day Edinburgh. Now, the modern celebration of Beltane that has been happening here since the 80s occurs on the hill opposite of Arthur's Seat, which is roughly right here. You can kind of see the top of it. So this is where the modern celebration takes place. Now, why this change? Why move from the historic location of Beltane behind me here to Colton Hill? Well, quite simply logistically. This is a much higher climb for people, and so actually having it up there would reduce the amount of people that could access it, and it's a little bit further away from the city itself, whereas Colton Hill is literally in the middle of the city, and so it just makes sense for the modern celebration to be up there. And I don't think it really takes away from the fact that this area is a place that Beltane was celebrated in the past, or at least a fire festival of some sort. So just finished my climb to Arthur's Seat right here. It seems fairly accepted by the pagan community within Edinburgh that this was an ancient site of Beltane celebrations, or at least fire rituals, and that Arthur's Seat was the location of it. Now, I can't seem to find where this information comes from, where the origins of this are, if there was excavations here that revealed fire, had been made up here or something like that. I'm not sure. I can't find that information. Please let me know if you have. But I really can't see it up here. I really can't see a ritual being held up at the top of Arthur's Seat. One, it's incredibly rocky, and I can't imagine it was very easy to climb back in the day, so carrying wood all the way up there to start a fire. There's not a lot of space for any kind of celebrations. It's a little dangerous if people are drinking and dancing, so I don't really see any kind of celebration happening up at Arthur's Seat, but I believe they probably would have been held in a grassier, softer, less windy area like this, rather than at the very small rocky top of Arthur's Seat up behind me here. So now that we've talked about historical Beltane and what we know about it, and I've taken you to a place of potential ancient Beltane celebration, now I want to show you a modern Beltane celebration. And not just any Beltane, but the largest celebration of Beltane in the world. Good morning. Welcome to the day of May 1st, the official day of Beltane and the morning after the Beltane Fire Festival. So I hope you enjoyed that footage I displayed for you. I had an intention of filming kind of like a vlog in there, but hopefully you can tell it was just way too crowded and way too magical to do that. I kind of walk you through a little bit of what to expect if you go. I mean, I was not able to get everything. There's a lot of people there, and it's a very mobile event. So the entire thing is basically around the procession of the May Queen and the Green Man as they go through the hill into different elements. There's like an air station, a water station, a fire station, an earth station, and then a few others that they stop along the way. And so you kind of follow this procession, and you're just not necessarily able to see everything. Luckily, I did have a little of insider info of where to go for everywhere. So I was able to get a lot of footage of the various events, but I couldn't get it all. And so you definitely have to come check it out for yourself. Like one of the things that I really didn't get to see at all is they have this massive fire arch that the entire procession goes through. And I just really couldn't see much of it, and I couldn't get really a lot of footage of it either. Naturally, this channel is about the pagan elements of the world, both ancient and modern. And so the pagan elements of this is definitely where I feel like there could be more. And if anyone from the Fire Festival watches this, this would be kind of my message is it's not going to chase away the non-pagans that are going. And I think it's just going to enrich everyone's experience if more of the spiritual elements are considered into the Beltane event. Now, that's not saying, again, it wasn't enjoyable. I really enjoyed myself. Very grateful to be here. And I think the most magical moment for me was the beginning and the end. So the beginning, when everyone came out, you had all these drummers, people with torches, the volunteers, people, painted all in blue, people painted all in white, people painted all in red, and then the May Queen and the Green Man coming out in these brilliant outfits and attire. And just watching this procession come over the national monument, the Acropolis up there, was just magical. I mean, there's just no other way to describe it, with the giant flame of the sun behind them. It was out of this world, and not something I ever expected to experience as a pagan coming from the United States. And again, I know not everyone is able to experience this for themselves, and I hope you are one day. But for now, I hope this footage is enough to show you that paganism is very much alive and it is coming back. And I think that is the biggest takeaway from this event, is just how many people were there experiencing this ancient tradition, evolved and revived to live in this modern era. The ending of the procession all led to the moment the Green Man dies and is reborn, just as nature is reborn every single year. And it was a very amazing display, once again, of the May Queen and the Green Man uniting, and then they are led to the Bower, where they take their thrones, and then all the people that volunteered get to enjoy themselves as well. And I think there's even marriages and just a general celebration that is private for the people that volunteer. And I went through the volunteer process very briefly. I was ultimately not able to do it just because of my time constraints with other travel plans I had, but I do intend to come back during the Samhain festival that they have in the fall and participate in that, and hopefully volunteer as well. But just one recommendation I would have that I would love to see, that to make it more pagan, is there was really no ways for anyone other than the people participating, and really not even them, to give offerings. I really felt like that was a missing element that would have helped myself and even non-pagans get into it. I wish there was like a big basket or a bowl, or a wooden wicker man or something that you could tie clouties to, or leave offerings, like small little bits and bobs, and then them take that to the bonfire and light that at the very end. I think that would have been very special for everyone involved. And I think it would only add to the event and be a really interesting element. So truly, if anyone from the Fire Festival is watching this, from the bottom of my heart, I really think that this would really enhance the event, is allowing some form of offering to take place, because we ended up having to go to like one of the dark areas and give these offerings in the dark, because it just felt like there was no place for pagans to actually participate in if they weren't volunteering. So that's just the main thing I would love to see, is the addition of offerings into the ritual itself. But other than that, I had an amazing time, absolutely amazing procession. I was dancing with everyone else, and just seeing, particularly the Reds get into it, just having a good time. And it seems like everyone puts their heart and soul into it, and you can really feel it. So highly recommend, if you ever get a chance to come to the Edinburgh Fire Festival. It is definitely the biggest Beltane in the world, and it's definitely one of the most magical as well because of that. Truly amazing to see thousands of people coming together to honor an ancient Celtic tradition such as this. And with that, as we close out this video, I'm going to go find some dew to rub my face in, because it's supposed to have healing properties up here at Arthur's Seat. An amazing climb to do after an amazing night celebrating Beltane here in Edinburgh.